Hello everyone, welcome to my channel. If it's your first time joining, thank you. If you're a previous subscriber, a new subscriber, or you have just viewed another video on my channel, welcome back. So in today's video, I'm going to be sharing a product with you. I had a company reach out to me and ask me if I would review this product, and I have been searching for this type of product for a while, and I was very excited when they contacted me because it's just a fantastic opportunity. So with that said, I'm going to go ahead and jump right into it. So I have went ahead and opened it up. That way I could see if there was any paperwork inside of it that had any information that I was not willing to share. So, Okay, so what we have here is we have a magnetic embroidery hoop. And you can see here that I have my FAF embroidery machine all set up. The design that we're going to be using today to review this product is already set into the machine. So if you're familiar with my channel, you will know that I already have an embroidery hoop from a different brand. And I was getting very discouraged with that particular hoop. And that's not to say that anything is wrong with that hoop. It's just that, to me, it was a little cumbersome and a little difficult. I still use the hoop for other products, other designs that I stitch out on my machine. I just don't use it for quilting. Now, when this company, they are named MagnaHoop, and they specialize in magnetic embroidery hoops. They do have other types of machine embroidery hoops as well. But in our case, we'll be doing the magnetic embroidery hoop. And you can see that it is for the FAF Viking machine, and you can see that it's a little dented. That happened in the shipping. Hopefully everything is okay inside. It is a PA 116M, and you can see that there. I'm going to go ahead and flip it over, and you can see package includes the hoop. You have 4 magnets, a template, and there's going to be a user's guide inside. It shows you how it's hooped. It does say down here at the bottom, refer to the instruction manual of your embroidery machine for details on how to use the embroidery hoop. Okay, that is a good point. Each embroidery machine is different, so what I may be doing on my FAF machine may be completely different from a Juki or Bernina, Brother, but relatively a lot of the things are similar. So, okay, so we're going to go ahead and open it up. Okay, I like, first of all, that it is wrapped in bubble wrap. I have received a couple hoops before that I have ordered, and they've just had like a paper wrapped around them, and the hoop just kind of floated around in the box. I do like that this has some bubble wrap to it. So let's go ahead and open it. Oh wow, okay. So first off, I am really impressed with something I already see. So if you remember, I showed you on the carton that it said it had 4 magnets. In here, you can see that we actually have 8 magnets. So right here across the top. And just touching it there, I noticed something that I like a lot. These magnets are coated with silicone. So they're nice and grippy. They have a really nice feel to them. I really like the construction of them. So that might be something normal in these types of magnets. I have not particularly seen one of these types of hoops in person before, so I have never really handled the magnets before. But I do really like that it is wrapped in silicone. It's got a nice grip to it. And again, we have the 8 magnets instead of just 4. So we're going to set these over here. Oh, look at that. Let's just pop them all together for ease. And again, I love that. That right there is already a good selling point. Just the way the magnet feels to me. When you're viewing the pictures online, it looks like these are just a plastic coated, like a hard plastic over a magnet. But now that I feel them and that they're silicone, that is absolutely fantastic. I really love the grip, and I love, you can see the shape. See how it's, so you actually have a section to grip. So let's go, and you could tell when that was on the hoop, it is really on there really well. So definitely a great selling point. It's got super strong magnets. So that's definitely going to help you hold your fabrics firmly to the hoop. That's going to let you also do your thicker fabrics. If you're going to be doing denim, that's going to go right, attach that fabric perfectly to your hoop. If you're doing your quilting, so say you have your backing fabric, your batting, and then your top, your quilt top, that's going to stick really well right to that frame. Okay. Okay. So I really like that they have a nice printed out instruction sheet for you. So it has your step-by-step instructions. It has different ways to use your hoop, embroidery on quilts or sturdier fabrics. You can do freestanding lace, standard embroidery, endless embroidery. Endless embroidery is when you embroider an item and then you pick the fabric up, you remove the magnets and you pick the fabric up and move it and then reattach it. So this is going to be, with endless embroidery, that's going to be really fantastic for when I do my edge-to-edge embroidery designs. So I really like that. Okay. It does say different embroidery machines have different center positions, so the included grid template may not align perfectly with your machine's center position and should only be used as a general reference. Good to know. Okay. Hooping ready-to-wear garments is difficult or impossible due to seams, narrow areas, or buttons and rivets. When using the metal magnetic hoop, hooping won't be a problem. When you want to embroider on quilts or other projects where you do not want residuals from stabilizer on the back side, the metal magnet hoop is perfect. Oh, so that's great. So when you are doing your quilting of all of the layers of the quilt together, the backing, the batting, and the quilt top, that's going to let you hoop easily. I'm so excited about this. Okay. It does say we always suggest you to use a high quality stabilizer with this hoop. You can find the referred plastic hoop via the official website of your embroidery machine. Okay, so that means you can find the referred plastic hoop via the official website of your embroidery machine. So I'm thinking what that is referring to is the hoop size, and this particular hoop is I believe it is a 10.2 by 8 inch hoop. You can see your grid here is 8 inches. So that's really nice. Okay. So The template, you can hear it is a really nice sturdy template. One side's really smooth. It's got where it's printed on it. The other side kind of has a nice texture to it. So it kind of helps you hold the... I've had some where I've seen that the template is just really smooth and it's not easy to grip. I've got some Luna hairs on there. It's a little staticky. Okay, so I like that. It's got inches on one side, centimeters on the next. So it's got, of course, your 0, and then it goes 1 through 12 down, and then 1 through 12 up. So I'm impressed with the template. So that's really nice. The hoop, I'm not sure. Let's move those. Look at the magnets. They just want to stick right to it. So the hoop, I'm not sure if you can see. It's got a little piece of lint on it right there. I'm not sure if you can see, but on the actual, you can see this side. You can see that it's the shiny metal. Can you? I hope you guys can see that okay. I'm trying to get it there. You can kind of see how it's a shiny metal, and it does have a little bit of a texture to it. And I just noticed that. That's really nice. It's got a nice plastic strip on the back side of the hoop, so when you do have it in your machine, it's not going to, the metal's not going to rub right up against your machine and make wear marks. That's a really nice plus. So as I was saying, the top part of the hoop has a velvety feel to it, and that's going to be really great. It's going to let your fabric grip, and it's not going to make any marks on your fabric. It's just a really nice, soft, velvety feeling. So I like that. Okay, so what we're going to do is, the way this hoop is marketed is that it is a great hoop for hard to hoop fabrics. So such as denim, jackets, you can see on this little section here, it has, I think they used a sticky stabilizer and they're floating it. And then this one is just a regular stabilizer on the top. This one is a large piece of fabric. And then you can see that it's not all the way at the top, which is really nice. Typically on regular hoops, if you have a smaller piece of fabric, you need to float it. So that's a nice touch. You can do jeans. You can put your jeans right on there, and it shows you embroidering on like the pocket. And then this one, I believe, is it's either the collar of a shirt or the cuff of like a dress shirt. So that's really good. I really like that it is going to give me the different options to hoop. Okay, so suggestions for using the magnetic hoop. You can use the magnetic hoops according to your own usage habits, or you can refer to the following usage methods. You can mark your center guideline of your embroidery machine on the 4 sides of the magnetic hoop. Okay. So that is really good. So it doesn't have marks on the hoop. So what I can do is I can put this in with a piece of stabilizer, and I can put it to the back, or just attach it, put the hoop in the machine and find my center marks and then mark. So I can do that. Every time you embroider, confirm the center position of the embroidery cross on the fabric first, and affix a cross label or mark the cross with a pencil at the center of the embroidery. Some designs you don't have to do that, but it is a good habit to get into it to find your center point. Suggestions for centering your embroidery fabric. If it's a small piece of fabric, align the cross center of the fabric with the center guideline of the magnetic frame. Okay. If it's a large piece of fabric or clothing, insert the bottom frame of the fabric magnet frame into the fabric clothing. Please lift a little fabric to expose the center reference line. Okay. Gently smooth the fabric by hand and attach your magnets. Move the needle to the center position of the embroidery pattern, then trace around the edge to see if any magnet blocks obstructions of the embroidery. Okay, so that's really good to know. Okay, so what we're going to go ahead and do is I have a piece of stabilizer already cut, and my stabilizer is 12 inches. And we're going to go ahead and I'm going to just pop that right on there. And I'm going to go ahead and attach my magnets in the 4 corners like it shows. And I'm going to be, for this design that I'm going to be stitching out, I'm going to be floating my fabric, because I'm going to be stitching a quilt block. So I just want to, I'm going to now take my, well, you know what? Let's do this first. Let's find our center. So go ahead and take our magnets back off. So let's go ahead and find our center on there. So I'm going to just mark the center with the template, and that way, the way I have learned that I like to hoop fabric is that I just line it up with the center mark. Because I am doing a specific size of quilt block, I know I like centering it on the machine, and got a little shadow on there. And what I have done, this is a 12 by 12 inch fabric, piece of fabric. I have folded it in half and did a finger crease, and then I folded it in half again and finger creased it as well, so I could find my center mark. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to find my center. Go ahead and fold it. Excuse me. I can't get it unfolded. There we go. And okay. There's a Luna hair on it. Okay, so I have it lined up, and I'm going to go ahead and, like I had the magnet up here at the top, so I keep my stabilizer in place. And we're going to go ahead and do that. And for this corner, I'm going to go ahead and attach, because this bottom part of the fabric is pretty much right at the edge. So we're going to just put it right. So, and like I was saying, this style of embroidery hoop is marketed to be easier to adjust your fabrics and easier to hoop them. So when you compare it with a magnetic hoop with one piece upper frame, and I do have another frame like that. So in a hoop like this, if it was a magnetic hoop, you would have your bottom frame, and there's Luna coming to pass through. Thank you, little girl. Go ahead and go by. Thank you. Okay. As I was saying, in this particular type, the top hoop would fit right on the edge all the way for most other brands of magnetic hoop that I have worked with. So, well, I have only worked with one other brand. So I find that these small magnets are amazing, because look how simple. I am just going to place that one there, this one here. So I am just smoothing, making sure my fabric's smooth. And then for the last two, I'm going to just put it in the middle. So basically my fabric is floated on top of the hoop. Now if I need to pull, make sure my stabilizer is a little tighter, it feels fine, no problem. Okay, so as you can see how simple that was to hoop that piece of fabric. It shows you exactly on the carton how it's hooped. So I'm going to, I already have my design set in my machine, and I like the way the design is. I am going to thread my machine and I will be right back. Okay, so I have moved the camera to the front of the machine so we can get a full shot of the magnetic hoop. I'm going to go ahead and I've got my design into the machine already. I'm going to go ahead and hit my start, and it's going to go to the starting position. When I did place the hoop in the machine, it recognized the hoop right away. I didn't have any problems with it not recognizing the hoop. This, for my FAF machine, it would be a 260 by 200 hoop. It does say on the listing for the hoop on Amazon that it is a 10.2 by 8-inch hoop, therefore a 260 by 200. So if you are familiar with magnetic hoops, you kind of have to do your conversions, and your machine is going to have the actual millimeter size in it. Okay, so I'm going to go ahead and hit start. And, oops. Okay, so it's going to do at the top, and my magnets are not in the way. I am holding my thread tail up here. So I'm going to stop it and cut my thread tail. So far, let's see. I have already pulled the stitch out there, so let me pull that out. I'm going to raise my, pull that back out. We're going to go back to beginning. And for this particular stitch out, I am hoping that I have the stabilizer all nice and taut, and that the fabric is nice and tight as well. And I'm sorry if I seem like I'm yelling. I'm right on top of the camera. I'm going to slow my speed down, and let's try that again. Okay, so I'm going to stop again, and I'm going to cut that thread tail. I always like cutting my thread tails. Hopefully this particular design, when it's stitching out, I won't have to stop. But I'm going to let it stitch out a little bit so you guys can see exactly how the hoop is actually functioning. And we will be back in just a moment. I'm going to go ahead and let it stitch and let you guys see. So if you are familiar with machine embroidery, you'll know that it does kind of like vibrate a lot, and it is vibrating like any other hoop would do. And you can see over here on the side, my design is a cat. So I'm just letting it do its thing. It is a very simple design. So we're going to start this design, and then I will try another more dense design. So far, it's behaving like any other hoop would. There are other magnets that you can purchase online if you want more magnets. Okay, so I'm going to stop right there, and I'm going to cut my thread tail. I'm just one of those ones that I like cutting the thread tail because I don't like that added tension of that and the stitching over. Okay, so let's cut that one. I usually have my machine programmed to cut the jump stitches, but some designs don't have it in the design where it cuts them, so you'll have to cut them whether you have it set on your machine. Okay. So far it is stitching really well. I don't see any problems of any puckering or anything like that. Okay, so I'm going to stop again and cut that thread tail. I'm going to use my actual embroidery scissors so I can reach under there a little bit better. My scissors stuck to the magnet, so be prepared for, you can see it sticking to it. Be prepared for that to happen. That might be the only negative thing that I have found so far, is that your scissors will stick to it. So far, if that's the only negative thing about this hoop, it's a win-win in my opinion. Let's go ahead and keep going. I was a little bit worried about my machine recognizing the hoop, because I have heard other people say that off-market embroidery hoops, if you do not buy the name brand, your machines will have issues recognizing the hoop. But as you can see, my FAF Creative 4.0 is recognizing the hoop with no problems. It's reading it just as a regular 260 by 200 hoop. And I do have a regular FAF hoop that is 260 by 200. And that is a standard hoop that comes with this machine. And the only reason why I never used it for quilting is because it is hard to quilt in a regular hoop, because it is so thick, the layers of the fabric. So at this point for this, this is just a really simplistic design, and so far I'm really happy with the way it is stitching out. I'm going to go ahead and let it continue stitching, and I'm going to turn the camera off, and when it gets down to this lower area where there is no magnet here along the bottom, I will restart the camera and show you what it looks like in that area. So I will see you soon. Okay, so you can see that it did stitch right down here along the bottom edge. It stitched just this straight, this little curve actually stitch here with no problems. And again, at this time, I am very impressed with the simplicity of the hoop and how easy it is to use it. The quality is really well, and I'm really happy with it at this point. We will see as it stitches more. I'm not going to do the complete stitch out on this one on camera because it still does have 15 minutes to go. So when this portion is finished, I will stop it before I go to the next color, so I can take it off the machine and we can judge the back of what it looks like. So I let it stitch for a couple more minutes and then I will pause, and then when it's completed I will come back. I'm going to go ahead and pause there, so I will be back when the 14 minutes is done with this portion. Okay, so we have finished the first color stitch out. There are only 2 colors on this particular design. So I'm going to go ahead and raise the needle, and I'm going to take the hoop off the machine so I can show you what the back of the work looks like. Okay, so far that is the front, and we're going to go ahead and look at the back, and the back looks just fine, no issues. You can see a little crease here, and that could just because that is where the design has stitched out. We will go ahead and continue with the next. I don't know why this is like that. No. I didn't cut it. Okay, there we go. Okay, so I am going to cut that tail. I'm going to go ahead and put the hoop back into my machine. And again, as you can see, my nippers are sticking to the magnet. Truthfully, so far, that is the only downfall I have found, is that your scissors will stick to the magnet. So I'm going to go ahead and pause. I'm going to change the color because I have to stand up and I might hit the camera as I change the color. So I'm going to go ahead and pause to do that, and I will be right back. Okay, so I have the second color threaded. I am just going to make sure everything is good. I'm going to go ahead and start my next stitch out. I'm going to hold the thread tail. And I'm going to pause and cut that thread tail. And again, the only negative thing I can say about this hoop is my scissors or my nippers sticking to the magnets when I am cutting. And truthfully, that's a small price to pay, in my opinion. So far, that's my only negative thing about the hoop and the magnets. So we're going to go ahead and continue. I'm going to go ahead and let you watch for a few minutes because this stitch out is a 33-minute stitch out. You can kind of see right there. You know what? I'm going to go ahead and just pop it up the speed just a little bit, and what did that put it at? 20 minutes, so it knocked off 13 minutes. So I'm going to go ahead and let it stitch out. I did slow it down when I first started. I do like to do stitching at a little bit of a slower speed. That's just preference, but it stitched out at that, it wasn't the lowest speed, but the next notch up. So this is a medium speed for my machine, so I'm going to go ahead and see how it does on that. And you can hear that it has increased in the sound just a little bit. So these particular colors that are for this design, don't know if I like that they go together. I kind of like that maybe I should have just stitched it out all in one color. But that has no bearing on the quality of the hoop. Okay, so I'm going to go ahead and let it continue stitching, and when it's about halfway through, I will come back and let you see how it's going. So we'll be right back. Okay, so I finished the embroidery before I could even pause to realize that it was finished. It finished so quickly. Okay, so I'm going to go ahead and cut this thread. Well, I don't really need to cut it. We're just going to do that. I am going to readjust the camera and show you everything back from the overhead view, and I will be right back. Actually, I have thought of something else. That what I would like to do is, this design was very simplistic. It was not a very dense design, and I'm going to take it off and show you. And you can see there that it's just a really simple design. Sorry about the light coming through the back of it there. You can just see that it was a very simplistic design. And it wasn't very dense. So if you're familiar with machine embroidery, you'll know that some of the designs can be really dense and a lot of stitching in certain areas. So I think now what I would like to do is go ahead and remove this stitch out from the hoop, re-hoop another piece of fabric and stabilizer, and stitch out a design that is more dense and some heavier stitching, so we can see if there is any pull in on the fabric or if there's any puckering. And I will be right back once I get the design selected and I can show you what I'm telling you. Okay, so on our previous segment we had did the cat stitch out, and I'll show you that again here. So we did this stitch out, and it is a stitch out that's not as dense in the stitching, meaning that the stitching isn't as heavy. So what we're going to do now is we are going to try doing a stitch out where the stitches are heavier, and we're going to see how the hoop handles a heavier stitch. So what I'm going to do is, I already have the hoop attached. I already put another piece of medium cutaway stabilizer and another 12 by 12 inch of black fabric, and I have went ahead and attached the hoop. So we're going to go ahead and say yes, we've attached the hoop, and this is the design that I'm going to be using. It is a quilt block that has some really nice heavy satin stitching in it, And at least that's what I'm thinking. If I remember correctly, this is a heavier stitch, and you can see. So one of the good things when you are doing a design like this is your machine. Let me go ahead and hit stitch. And okay, so your machine will have, depending on the type of machine that you have, whether it's a FAF or whatever brand you have, you're going to have the option to put a basting stitch around. And that is a really good way if you are doing a heavier stitched design, a more dense design, that it is going to stitch better. So no matter the hoop that you use, that is always a good step to do. So we're going to go ahead and do that. And that is typically what I do with all of my quilt blocks, is I will do the outline stitch. And it just also helps prevent your fabric from puckering. So you're going to want to go ahead and do what you would normally do. And you can see that I have it hooped like it showed right on the carton. So I'm going to go ahead and do my basting stitch. And I'm going to hold my tail. I'm going to go ahead and hit start. And your basting stitch is going to be a wide stitch. Get that tail out of the way. I would have normally cut that off. But you can see how the basting stitch is a wider stitch. And what that's going to do is that's just going to give your denser stitch out. It's going to give it a, let's see, how can I put it into words? It's going to give it a better chance of stitching out without puckering in your fabric or in your stabilizer when you take it off. Okay, so we're going to go ahead, I'm going to pull this, lift this up a little, pull my tail out just a little bit. And this design is actually going to take 43 minutes. So I'm going to go ahead and start. I'm going to let it stitch a little bit, and then I will bring you guys back. Okay, I'm going to stop it so I can cut that thread tail. Actually, I need to move it just a little more because wouldn't you know, I stopped it right there. Okay, there we go. Okay, so I may actually speed this portion up and just let it completely film, and we'll see what happens. Okay. I don't know. It's actually saying that it's going to take 53 minutes to stitch out. So I may actually pause it and in just a moment and let it stitch out, and then bring you back when it's almost completed. That way we don't have to sit and watch a several minutes of a sped up stitch out. And I have this on the speed that it was programmed. I believe I have it on a medium stitch out. And you can already see that it's doing a heavier satin stitch. And so far, it's holding up just fine. It doesn't look like the stabilizer's loosening up or the fabric is loosening. Right now it is doing like the knockdown stitch or the base stitch. Again, when you are stitching out a heavier design, denser design, you do want to do this basting box around it. It just gives your project that extra protection that it is going to stitch out well. Overall, I am really liking this hoop. Okay, I am going to go ahead and let this stitch out, and I will come back when this color is almost completed. See you in a few minutes. Okay, so I've brought you back. There's 25 minutes left for this particular part of the stitch out, and you can see in these portions right here that there is a little bit of puckering or pulling. And that is because the denseness of the stitches. So don't worry about that at this particular time. It's not because of your hoop. It is because of the stitch out. And what's going to happen is when it does stitch in these places, it's going to take care of that. What you want to judge your overall puckering on is the complete stitch out. So we're going to let it keep going. And then I will bring you back again when it gets closer to the end of this portion. Okay, so the portion that is stitching out is these little L kind of shapes. And that is taking care of the pucker that I showed you just a couple of minutes ago. And the hoop is still doing really well. The stabilizer is still nice and tight to where I attached it with the magnets. We have 5 more minutes to stitch out, and I will be right back. Okay, so this little portion, while it is stitching out, you can kind of hear it popping a little bit. And I don't know if maybe because the stabilizer's not tight enough, or it's just the stitching. So you'll hear here in just a second. Hopefully it'll catch it. Okay. It could have been just the... Okay, see that little bit of popping right there? I'm not sure what that was. I don't know if that's because of the hoop or it's just the stabilizer or all the tight stitching in that one little spot. So we're going to go ahead and let it continue, and it has a couple more to go, and I'll be right back. Okay, so I actually just broke the thread, and it is telling me to check the thread, and I'm not sure. It could be just the way, yeah, I think it's just, I'm going to go ahead and trim this, and it could be just the way the design is. Sorry, I lost train of thought there for a minute. It could be just the way the design is, where it cuts the thread and starts stitching again. It just kind of didn't pick up quite well. So I'm going to advance back to the, okay, to right there. So now I'm going to advance one. Okay, so then we're going to restart. And let me make sure my thread's okay, and we're good. We're going to go ahead and restart. Okay, no problem. I'm going to stop it and trim the thread tail. And like I said in the previous video when I was stitching out the cat, the only thing that I have found negative is that when you are trimming your stitches and you get too close to a magnet, your scissors will stick to the magnets. Okay, let's go ahead and continue, and I will be back in just a couple more minutes. Okay, we are about to stitch out the last flower right over here before we change colors. So I'm going to go ahead and let it play so you can see. Let's go ahead and go. Just a little bit more to stitch out, just a couple little more petals, and this portion will be finished, and then we will switch colors. Okay, so this color is finished. I am going to stop the camera so I can change my thread color, and I will be right back. Okay, so I have the new color threaded, and we are doing a darker blue. And the stitching here in the center where I had showed you that it was puckering a little bit fixed itself with the L-shaped stitching here. So I'm not worried that it's going to pucker more. It seems to be doing really well because I did do the basting stitch around it. And again, like I said, with any hoop that you use, whether it be a magnetic hoop or a standard machine embroidery hoop, it is advised to do a basting stitch. And that just helps the quality of your stitch out, no matter what kind of hoop you use. Okay, so we're going to go ahead and continue. And again, this is saying that it's going to take 36 minutes to stitch out. So I'm going to start it and let you guys see how it's going. And then I'll stop it and bring it back periodically to show you how it's going. All right, let's go ahead and start. Oops, I paused the camera before I started stitching. Okay. Okay, I'm going to pause and we're going to trim. And again, You might have seen that I got on this bottom right corner, I did get the scissors kind of stuck to the magnet as I was trimming. And that's, again, the only negative thing I can say about this hoop. So let's go ahead and continue stitching out and keep going. I'm going to go ahead and let it stitch for a couple minutes so you can see it. And you can see that that is doing a heavy satin stitch there in the middle. And again, there's no problems with it coming off the hoop. The magnets are not coming loose. So I'll go ahead and let it stitch for a few minutes. I haven't found that this hoop wobbles more than any other hoop. Okay, so I'm going to go ahead and pause there and let it stitch out for a few more minutes, and I will be back. Okay, we are almost at the end of this design. So we've got this corner here to finish and this one over here, and it's just stitching out this little fleur-de-lis design. And it says we have 7 more minutes. And you can see this is the end where I didn't put a magnet right on the edge of the fabric, but the magnet is here on the frame and the stabilizer, and it has stitched out no problems. So I'm going to go ahead and pause it again, and when I get to the very last part of the final corner here, I will come back and I will talk about our next step. Okay, we are on the very last edge, the corner down here, and I did break a couple threads, and I think that was just the design itself in some of the areas where the stitching was heavy. I don't think that has anything at all to do with the design, or I'm sorry, the hoop. It also could have been my thread holder off to the side. It got a little snagged possibly and broke the thread, but overall the hoop is doing absolutely great. So we have just a couple more minutes here, and I'm going to let it go ahead and finish stitching out so you guys can see it right to the very end. And says we have 2 minutes, so I'm going to go ahead and let it finish. Almost finished. I am not even sure where I got this design for this quilt block. Okay, it is looking really good. I am impressed with the satin stitching. There is no puckers in the satin stitching. Okay. One last little section and we are finished. Okay, there we go. This design has finished stitching out. I am really impressed with this hoop. I had just some slight puckers, and that's going to happen with any design. That is not the fault of the hoop. I'm really impressed with it. Okay, so now we have done the cat block. We have done a denser stitched block with the satin stitching. Now our next test is going to be doing an edge-to-edge quilting design. So what I'm going to do is, again, I'm going to pause the camera and I am going to set the design in the machine. So I'm going to go ahead and clear this one, and we're going to clear the design. And I'm going to delete the design so I can load a edge-to-edge quilting design. And when I have that finished, I will be right back. So I have taken off the hoop, and this is what it looks like. There is no puckering, which I am really happy with. I'm going to go ahead and set this aside, and I am going to hoop the next test, and I will be right back. Okay, so now I have our next test up. So what I have done is I have done like what a small quilt would be. I have my backing fabric. You can see the backing fabric here, and here's you can see the hoop, the edge of the hoop here. And what I wanted to do is I typically use an 80-20 cotton polyester batting. But what I wanted to do is I wanted to do a double layer of a polyester batting. Sometimes a polyester batting will have a lot more loft, so I wanted to see how it would stick to the hoop with a double layer of polyester batting and then the quilt top. So it attached to the hoop with no problems at all. I have 3 across the bottom, 3 across each side, and 3 magnets across the top. I have the edge-to-edge design in the machine already, and this is just going to be kind of like a wavy edge-to-edge design, kind of like a stipple. So we're going to just go ahead and start it. Let me go ahead and... This is going to be a triple run design. It says it is going to take 10 minutes. And what I'm going to do is I'm going to just let it play for the full 10 minutes, and we're going to see how it works. And It looks good, so we're just going to go ahead and start. And I'm going to stop there to trim the end. And go ahead and continue. I know that's a little bit hard to see on white fabric, so I did go ahead and leave the blue thread on the machine. And it is just a white bobbin thread. So this is to test basically how you could do your quilt. I do not have any stabilizer. It is just the backing, 2 layers of a polyester batting, and then the quilt, what would be a quilt top. And it's doing really well, really simplistic. And this is a triple run stitch, so it's doing it 3 times instead of just a single run stitch. I've actually never used this particular edge-to-edge design before, but I'm really liking how it's looking. The only thing I forgot to do is to check my bobbin thread, so hopefully we will be able to make it all the way through this stitch out. The layers are staying nice and taut. There's no pucker. There was a slight crease here in my fabric, but with pulling the fabric smooth, it hooped really well. Also, I have never done a triple run edge to edge before. I usually just use a single run. Okay, so right there, let me pause right there. For this design, my needle screw was starting to hit right here. So one of the things that when you are hooping your fabric, it does recommend that you make sure that it is not in the way of the needle, and this one was. So you want to make sure that it is moved over just enough so your needle, the needle bar, does not hit it. So I'm going to just move that over just a little bit, and I'm going to make sure all my other ones are the same way, and we are good. Okay, let's go ahead and continue. So that was a good little tip there. to always make sure that your magnets are on the frame. Okay, so sorry about that little pause there. I accidentally hit the cord to the camera and it shut the camera off, but I was able to catch it quick enough that I only missed a couple stitches on the machine. So I was able to pause the machine really quick, and we're going to go ahead and continue on. I really like the stitch out design. I hope you guys can see it okay. I know the light does kind of wash it out a little bit, but hopefully you can see it all right. I'm going to try to move you guys a little forward so you can see. There you go. I think that's a little bit better. I do like the look of a triple stitch. It makes it a nice bold quilted design. And I really like the ease of hooping a quilt sandwich in this hoop. And I really think this is now going to be my go-to hoop for doing edge-to-edge embroidery for quilting. I am absolutely horrible at free motion quilting, and that is one of the reasons why I actually bought a larger embroidery machine, because I am able to do edge-to-edge quilting with the embroidery hoops, and it has made a huge change in my quilting. I used to do just straight line quilting, and the embroidery machines and the ability to use a quilt in an embroidery hoop has just completely changed my quilting. And I am so excited the way this hoop has turned out. We are almost completed. We have just under 2 minutes and we will be finished. Okay, we are doing the last line of stitching here. It has a couple inches to go, and then it will be complete. And there we go. That design is finished. Okay, so now what I'm going to do is I am going to pause the camera again. I'm going to switch the camera to our overhead view, and we will do our finishing thoughts on the MagnaHoop Magnetic Embroidery Hoop. We will be right back. Okay, so I have the final test off the machine. I removed the embroidery unit, so we have some more room here. I'm going to go ahead and remove the magnets, and you can see how easy it was to just attach the magnets. And this is the backing. And I did use a white thread. If you want it to, I don't know why I'm showing a lot of blue on the back. It could just be the tension of my machine. It has nothing to do with the hoop. And there's our little mascot. Let's go ahead and get you down. Come on, little one. Thank you. Okay, so now we're going to talk about my overall impression. So the only negative thing I did not like about the hoop was that when the hoop is in the machine and you have your magnets attached to it and you go to cut your threads, it is very easy to have your handle stick to the machine. Now, is that a deal breaker? No, it's not. So you can use plastic handled hangers. You can use plastic handled scissors and it won't stick. The metal part of the scissors are still going to stick. But if it bothers you, just use a plastic handled scissor. No big deal. That is the only drawback I did not like about this hoop. So overall, we have our really kind of like a simple stitch out. It doesn't have a lot of density to the design. There is no puckering on the design. These were my fold lines. I don't know if you can see, yeah, you can see the, you can see the fold lines. Okay, so that one, this one did really easy. It was quick, it was easy. I had no puckering. It didn't separate from the hoop at all. So then our next design was the more dense stitches with the satin stitches. And you can see the back where all the additional threads were. It didn't snag anything. This portion did not have a magnet on it. I just had it at each corner, like so. And then it was here, here, and I think I can't remember how I had it because it was just I just had it stuck on there. I did not have a magnet here at the bottom because my block was not big enough. So that is fine. It let me float the fabric as long as I had the stabilizer hooped. That's what it was. So the stabilizer was all attached to the frame. The fabric was only attached to the frame on the sides and the top and bottom and here. I did have it at the top, but I didn't have it at the bottom because I wanted to see how it would float without actually attaching the fabric to the frame, but just the stabilizer. That did really well. No puckers. Get that thread off there. And again, the heavier stitch out did really well. And again, when I did it just like I would do any other quilt block. I do the basting stitch around it because that is going to help the design, and that is what usually when you do a quilt block, you do a basting stitch, and that just helps puckering and anything like that. So I did it like I would normally do a stitch out on a design like this. So, and again, that did really well. I didn't have any problems with that design. And then for our final one, like a mock quilt, my backing fabric, 2 layers of a polyester batting, and then the top, and a triple run edge to edge design, stitched out really well, and I don't have any issues with it. It looks really good. I could trim this and make it a quilt block just as it is. So, okay, so great thing about the hoop, it super strong magnets. I'm really impressed with the magnets. You can always order additional magnets online. They are all over the Amazon. I've seen them listed on other sites. So definitely, if you want additional magnets, you can purchase those. So strong magnets. The 8 magnets for this hoop did fantastic. I'm really happy with it. I didn't have any problems. It's you know, great for hooping hard to hoop fabrics. The only thing that I would say would be a hard to hoop fabric would be a quilt, because it is the thickness of it. It was simple. All I did was lay it down, attach the magnets, pull my fabric so it was nice and straight, and that was it. It could not have been any easier to hoop it. I just laid it down and placed the magnets on it, pulled it so it was nice, and that was it. That was so simple. Easy adjustment, yes, because like I just said, I laid it down, put the magnets down, and then just kind of pulled it so it was taut, and that was it. That, I mean, simple to adjust. It was so easy. What else? Anti-fabric sliding. I didn't find any issues with fabric moving around. So if this little, like the velvet kind of flocking on here, let me show you that again. I don't know if you can see that. It's kind of got a little velvet on it. Fabric didn't move around at all. So if that is because of this velvet flocking on there, fantastic. I would just highly recommend that you use caution to not scrape this off with tools. If you're working with tools on it, don't scrape onto it, because that will damage that. The back had the strip on it to protect your machine. I see absolutely no wear on the back of the hoop. I don't see any wear on my machine where the edge of the hoop was riding. And you could see in all the stitch outs that I shared with you, you could see the hoop moving around on the machine. You could see that it was kind of like bouncing a little here and there. I didn't have a problem with it. It was really great. Overall, would I recommend this hoop? Absolutely. If you have issues with other embroidery hoops that are magnetic, and you have a problem with the top hoop that covers the whole thing, some people have problems with those because their dexterity, whatever issue you have with those, this will definitely solve your problem because it was so simple. I'm seriously a child, a young teen. I know a lot of people that are in quilting groups that I belong to, so with their grandchildren, and it was, you know, a young child could use this easily. So I highly recommend this hoop. I'm not saying that just because they sponsored this video. I really, really like this hoop. And I can see in the future me doing a lot more quilting with my embroidery hoop because, or more quilting with my machine because of this hoop. It is fantastic. Okay, so if you guys have any questions, please comment down below. And there will be a link down below where you can find the hoop. And I will see you guys all very soon. And I hope you enjoyed the video. And we'll see you all again. Thanks, guys. Bye-bye.